What does it mean to be yourself when the body you live in doesn't feel like yours? What does it mean to reshape yourself? To redefine who you are in the face of overwhelming odds? For Alphonse Elric from the Full Metal Alchemist anime and manga, these questions aren't philosophical. They define his entire journey in a material way. In this video, I would like to draw some parallels between the themes in his story and some aspects of the trans experience, a quest to reclaim the aspect that reflects who one truly is. There are some spoilers here and there, so if you want to watch the series and haven't done so, what the f are you doing here? Okay now. From the moment Alphonse and Edward are introduced in the manga and at the very beginning of the original 2003 animation during the bar scene in the city of Lior, we can start to see how the appearance and identity of the Elric brothers will play an important role in the story, as both brothers have an image that doesn't match with their true selves. In the case of Edward, his immature appearance and short stature don't correspond to someone of his rank, a state alchemist. And in the case of Alphonse, the fact that he's still struggling with adapting to a physicality that is foreign to him because he's stuck in a suit of armor. During this early scene, the bartender remarks on the brothers' appearance, likening them to street performers. And, as it goes on, it emphasizes Alphonse. We are shown how he clumsily knocks out the radio playing Father Cornello's transmission because he's seemingly not aware of his own bulk and height. And, even as the scene concludes and Edward's reputation leads to them being recognized, there's confusion among the locals regarding their identity as they assume that someone nicknamed Full Metal Alchemist would look much more like Alphonse's armored figure rather than Edward himself. Having a reputation that precedes them only serves to make the social expectations on them greater. This introductory scene shows us in an effective way why their quest is important on a personal level for both. Edward's pride as an older brother is hurt by the fact that his own little brother overshadows him, quite literally, which leads to people implicitly questioning his credibility as an alchemist when they see them together. And in the case of Alphonse, the scene is also a way of illustrating that his clumsiness is but a constant reminder that he is inhabiting the wrong body. As with anything else, the experience of being trans varies from individual to individual. Some don't feel a sense of physical discrepancy and perhaps would not relate to Alphonse's story in that sense. But for many, existing in a body that does not reflect one's inner or true self is a struggle to overcome on a daily basis. Cisgendered people can experience these feelings too to an extent, with such things as unrealistic beauty standards and societal expectations of body image that are imposed regardless of gender identity that most won't be able to meet. We all feel insecurities about our bodies at some point, especially because we're aware that judgment is out there to meet us as soon as someone lays their eyes on us. The motivation that a cis man has to make his physique look swole and his stomach flat when he goes to the gym is, in essence, the same motivation a trans woman has to buy a dress, paint her nails, dye her hair, seek gender-affirming hormone therapy, or even undergo gender-affirming surgery. In fact, cis men are the most common recipients of gender-affirming surgery. Most breast reductions performed on adults in the United States, for example, were on cisgendered men. In this sense, I think it is safe to say that everyone, except perhaps an incredibly few, incredibly lucky people, can relate to the feeling of not looking right to yourself, which can make you feel like someone you aren't. While Alphonse's situation is obviously unique, a result of his brother's alchemical intervention to save his life, and needless to say, very different from trans people who had no agency in the genetic lottery ticket they got at conception, it mirrors the life-changing journeys that many of us undertake to align our outer selves with our inner identities. Similar to Alphonse, we use alchemy in hopes of achieving the results we desire. Alchemy is the mystical science of transformation. beyond its search for gold or power lie ideas of the potential of the self and humanity, and, more broadly, the envisioning of an existence that is attainable through knowledge and sacrifice. The story of Fullmetal Alchemist does not shy away from these ideas, but rather delves deep into them, making them central to the plot, not only to the protagonists, but for the entire nation of Amestris itself. In the case of the Elric brothers, the quest for Alphonse's body turns into a search for answers as to the nature of the alchemy itself. And more importantly, through the knowledge they obtain as they uncover state secrets, it becomes a quest for identity. For Edward, his whole reason to obtain the title of State Alchemist is to gain access to better understanding the science in order to help his brother. Throughout his journey, he comes face to face multiple times with the horrors inflicted by his colleagues on innocent people, which ultimately leads him to rebel against the Amestrian government and ultimately sacrifice his alchemical powers. Alphonse shares much of this sentiment with his brother, but his main focus is on the physical transformation he desires for the both of them. Something I really like about his character is that he isn't a passive participant in the journey to reclaim his and his brother's bodies. He learns alchemy along with Ed and faces incredibly powerful enemies both alone and alongside his brother. Even through all of that, he maintains a positive attitude for the most part, which is remarkable given the circumstances of the plot and the horrors inflicted upon him and his loved ones. Through sheer will, Alphonse is not only able to retain his humanity, but also transcend into an almost saintly figure who is made whole through his and his brother's selfless sacrifice. Here we could draw some parallels with the experience of trans individuals who, most of the time, will have to learn about science and social theory in the search for self-affirmation. Not only that, but we will probably find ourselves as political advocates for our own identity, facing a world that often misunderstands us and that is becoming increasingly hostile towards us. The process of transitioning can be a learning experience, not only about ourselves, but also about our principles and ethics in relation to those of our social environment. Most of us who decide to transition will even get to find out things about our family's morality as they react to it. This is also something that resonates with me and gives me hope when I think about the story of Fullmetal Alchemist. For Alphonse, the armor is a temporary vessel, a placeholder until he can reclaim his original body. Similarly, for many trans individuals, our flesh feels like a temporary or mismatched vessel that must undergo transformation to achieve a sense of wholeness. But in the end, it can be made whole. What resonates with me the most about Alphonse's story, however, is the profound feeling of longing for something you can't have because of your body. We know that one of the things that the youngest of the Elric brothers misses the most about his biological body is food. Encouraged by Edward, he keeps a journal where he writes down the things he wants to try once his brother fulfills his promise. But what Alphonse really longs for the most is physical contact with others. His existence while bound to the armor is a tragedy that would be difficult to overstate. Even the blissful oblivion of sleep, which could ease his mind, is unattainable for him. His longing for food would be relatable to most people, I think. And for me, his longing for physical contact is something that makes me think about the intense feeling of being in love with someone who would never love me back in the same way because of my gender. Much like Alphonse can see the rays of the sun reflecting off his armor but can't feel the warmth, I could see their feelings as clear as day, but I would never feel their warmth on my skin because my body was incompatible. Alphonse's inability to feel the sun's warmth, despite being surrounded by its light, is a powerful metaphor for the disconnect many trans individuals feel before transitioning. However, the series doesn't shy away from the sacrifices that can come with transformation either. And that's made very clear from the brutal beginning. the price of seeking out the things you desire can be steep. Due to the times we live in, people who seek to affirm their gender identity often unfortunately face social, financial, and emotional costs during transition. Trans people are one of the most vulnerable demographics today, no matter where we find ourselves. With the rhetoric of transphobic people in positions of power, the image of a chimera has been projected onto us in the eyes of many people. As a result, finding the courage to make oneself the likely target of even more prejudice seems to require, to some level, a metallic skin and stalwart disposition like Alphonse's. There's much loss involved in the process of transformation for him, but in the end, Alphonse sheds the metallic shell and regains his desired body. His physical body is starved and frail after the journey, but as a reward for his resilience, he is immediately met with the contact of the loved ones that he has so longed for. Edward, who is in the end able to keep his promise, is the kind of ally and support that many of us need right now. Welcoming arms that are warm and that we can trust to hold us when we're frail. Arms strong to hold the line alongside us. Ed obviously doesn't see Al as just armor at any point of the process. He sees his brother with similar experiences and goals. Even when there are moments where he struggles to fully understand Alphonse's experience, he's there to affirm his true identity. There's a poignant scene where Al questions his own humanity, wondering if he's just a construct, if his soul is even real. Edward's fierce affirmation of Al's identity reflects the kind of unwavering support that can be life-saving for trans people facing doubt and facing the world. I think Alphonse captures a struggle that many trans people can relate to. To be seen, to be known and accepted for who you are. As someone who's felt out of place in my own skin, his journey inspires hope in me that I will find a way to my true self. So, what are your thoughts on my thoughts? I'd love to know, so leave them in the comments. If you enjoyed today's topic, throw us a like. And if you want more of this content, subscribe to the channel. Even though times are tough, they're transient. Ta-ta!